so sorry.
Yeah, I'll come back up. Can we just say we need Channel 5? We're basically broadcast ones for.
just stood here.
Oh, that's better. Is that gone in now?
Fixed it, yeah.
Right. Is it just needed like half an inch?
Yeah.
Right.
Do you want to just take another photo? Where I
I was in the box for the features. Those were different for everyone. That sort of Gordon Brown-esque. Meanwhile, we were dashing and for me it was Sheffield, Glasgow for the by-election, which is the slightly eccentric backdrop for analysing debates in
Brilliant. Which one?
in Wales.
I think you're there.
Or it might be the left.
I'm here.
Quiet Friday.
Crawling to the finish line.
Yeah.
The finish line.
But no, it's
Crawling to the start.
just realising it's been moved a bit further back.
The end of the beginning.
That's true, yeah, we're literally at the beginning.
Yeah, we are. It's finish line stuff.
I mean, I don't think we can handle two leadership contests.
That's true. That's what happened in 2016, didn't it? One after the other.
Well, one was the
Mirror image of what's happening with With front row, with the front row. So there's no,
There's no throwing football.
no.
Yeah, 4, 7, and 9.
Yeah, of course.
11,
10,
10, 7. What's yours? Is he year 6? Oh, so he is the same, so same as you. But he was in August, but yeah, so he's still 9, he's 10 in August. We went to look at, although I had to literally leave the entire way through the doors, but I had to look at them.
No. Were you stood on it? Were you stood on it?
The school that I went to.
Your footprint on the.
Really see it properly.
Where was that? Just right. We'll just move it.
And that, I'm reserving it.
That's absolutely brilliant. Let's look at that.
Well, stand there.
Well, I mean, I don't think it'll fit in anyway. The kids are saying they do it too. Yeah, you can't see it. You can't see it.
I might at some point. I don't know why.
Come on, just make the whole thing.
Yeah.
No, I was actually just going to do a single year.
Thank you. You are not sure.
Very we have to run very hard.
Christmas as well. Wait. So you put him in? Is he going in year 7? Oh, I know, but that's nice.
I've authorised to say this is like literally
Actually, so my husband is previous job. They concentrate, but they exceed all children. It's very bad. School's got much on it as well.
Yeah.
Sophie went to that school. The girls' version of it. They've got 2 or 7. Were you doing Flexicap with News Gas Live?
No.
Oh,
No.
I was like, what the fuck? Why are you
Yeah.
still
No,
awake?
no. We record that about 7 o'clock.
Oh my
So
god.
yeah.
It's actually making me feel a bit stressed. What
Surely not.
Still awake.
Yeah, no. Yeah, no. That would be mad. Not that the absence of mad is necessarily a reason not to do stuff at night.
Although, so why was I still watching it?
Well, yes, exactly.
Go to bed.
Yeah. They were just brilliant, those pictures, weren't they? Yeah.
Why was she at Craig David?
So isn't
Why
it,
not?
Isn't it Henley Festival? So it's Henley Festival.
Henley Festival, she's in.
Yeah, yeah.
Because
Right,
there's a
right.
second one. There's a second one where she's in.
I thought I saw one last night, but maybe I imagined it, where people were basically chanting about Barry. She was dancing off. But I feel like I imagined it.
As many as possible.
We asked that for last time. Three.
Oh, I know it. That's it.
Oh, that's right. You're in Veneers. Was that when he said?
Yeah. Yeah.
Tom said any chance of cut
But it was all
of the Labour
flags and
badge
panorama
slogans
edits.
from
Like,
this
I've been doing that.
Brilliant.
How were you doing? How impressed were you, by the way? Did you make it straight from? Looks so amazing. Keep watching it. Oh, were you in the DMV bit?
Yeah, that's the entrance. It's 8:03 in the morning, driven straight from Tinton.
I wondered if they'd say to you.
Afternoon. I've always said that no rules were broken when I was in Durham. The police have now completed their investigation and found that there is no case to answer. People said to me I was taking a risk by saying I would step down if I was fined. But it was never about that. For me, it was a matter of principle. It shouldn't be controversial to say that those who make the law can't break the law. But we have to set the bar far higher than that. Our country is stuck in a dangerous rut. Everywhere you look, things are broken and nothing gets fixed. People say to me, when they look at those running the country, they see a group of people totally detached from reality, whose words mean nothing, and who put their own interests first. Who could blame them for concluding that politics doesn't matter and doesn't work? This is not just about Boris Johnson. This feeling that politics has failed hasn't emerged in the last few months. It's been bubbling away for years. And people have completely lost faith that this can be changed, that politics can be a force for good. The reason I made the promise that I did was to change their mind. Because when politics is done well, when people can have faith that politicians' words mean something, when the power of government sits in the hands of those determined to serve the country, like when Labour created the NHS, when we introduced the Equal Pay Act, and when we brought people together to deliver peace in Northern Ireland. Politics can change lives, and that is what I will do as Prime Minister. It's vital that we reboot our economy, re-energise our communities, revitalise our public services, and give Britain the fresh start it needs. In the coming days, I'll set out more about how a reforming Labour government will achieve just that. It's no small project. And I know I have to convince you to put your trust in me and believe that together we can build a better country. I won't get everything right. I'm certainly not perfect, and I will make mistakes along the way. But what you will always get from me is someone who believes honesty and integrity matter. Someone who will work every day for the good of the country. And someone who will not betray the faith that you place in me. Thank you. Thank you very much. I think we're going to go to questions first. I've got a list which I'll work to and hope to get it right. Chris, I think we've got you first.
Thank you. Chris Mason, BBC News. So, Keir, whilst you must be relieved, isn't this the week that your job has actually got much harder with the resignation of Boris Johnson, the man you've defined yourself against?
No, not in the slightest. The contrast between the Tory party, which is tearing itself apart, with a cast list of wannabe leaders who've all propped up this Prime Minister for months and months and months, knowing he's unfit for office. Contrast that to the Labour Party. We're united, we want to press on with a plan for Britain, and the change we want is more fundamental than a change at the top of the Conservative Party. So this is a very good week for the Labour Party, and my challenge to the Tories is not who's your next leader going to be, but give us the change we really need. Let's have a general election, let's have a change of government, a fresh start for our country. Sam.
Keir Starmer, you're pushing for a vote of no confidence next week.
Yeah.
If you win, there'll be an election. Do you think the answer to the chaos and instability at the moment is a general election?
Yes. We've been stuck in the middle of a cost of living crisis with a government that can't deliver, with the Prime Minister just not fit to be Prime Minister, the conclusion at last of the Parliamentary Conservative Party, propped up by people all around him who've known for months that he couldn't deliver. Of course we need change, fundamental change. It's not just about the last few months either. We've had 12 years of stagnation, 12 years of low growth. So Britain deserves that fresh start. That can only come with a change of government. Anushka.
Thank you. Sorry, I've got two questions.
We're back. Get to question 3 before we do the double up.
Oh, yeah, here we go.
Okay.
You see this as a good result, but Conservative MPs are telling me they see it as a good result too, because they think you're more beatable than some of your Labour colleagues. What do you say to that? And as you said, Durham police say there is no case to answer. So do you think they bowed to political pressure in launching this investigation?
Well, look, on the position of where we're at as a Labour Party, I had no end of people telling me in 2020 when I took over the Labour Party that it was impossible to get from where we'd landed in 2019 to the prospect of a Labour government. I didn't believe it. And we've pressed on. We've got really good local election results and a fantastic swing in Wakefield. So I block out the noise. We plough on. If there was a general election, this government will fall. And we've got a plan for the country. We want that fresh start. And I'm not going to listen to the noises off that for 2 years have been telling me this is impossible. We're proving it's possible. What's happened now is it's not just a hope of a Labour government, it's a belief in a Labour government. As for the police, look, I spent 5 years as Director of Public Prosecutions working with all the police forces across the whole country, and there were no end of politicians who tried to tell the police what to do. I'm not going to do that. They make their decisions, and I respect whatever decisions they've come to. Here they've come to a clear conclusion that there was no case to answer. I was always confident that the rules weren't broken. They've come to a very, very clear conclusion. Paul.
So, Keir, in Wakefield and in lots of other places in the country, people have been saying to us, not, I really want to vote for Keir Starmer, but I don't like Boris Johnson. He's gone now. Isn't a new leader actually bad for you?
Look, in Wakefield, what we saw were Labour voters coming back to Labour, something people told me wouldn't happen. We saw the same in the local elections across the whole of the country. And so I'm not going to listen to these noises off. We've come a huge way in 2 years. We're ready now for a general election. And rather than noises off, if they're so confident, well, let's have that general election. Let's get on with it. Let's have the fresh start that we need for our country. So let them put their money where their mouth is. If they really think that, call a general election. Let's get on with it.
There might be a general election.
Well, look, I don't mind when the general election is. We'll be ready for it. Andy?
Thank you. Andy Bell, 5 News. Aren't you playing politics with this call for a vote of no confidence? Because if this was a situation that was reversed and it was a Labour Prime Minister who'd stepped down as leader of the Labour Party, exactly the same thing would be playing through. This is just your way of trying to exploit this situation.
No, look, there's a world of difference between this situation and previous situations where a leader has stepped down. If you take Theresa May, for example, there was a policy dispute within her party that in the end led to her resignation, but she stayed on. This Prime Minister, Boris Johnson, has been brought down on the issue of trust and integrity because his front bench didn't believe that when they were going out to do media rounds, they were being told the truth. That is a million miles from a policy dispute. You can't resign saying the Prime Minister doesn't tell the truth, he's got no integrity, he keeps sending me out to say things which aren't true, but I'll now serve him for 2 months because I think miraculously in the next 2 months that's all going to change. It just doesn't make sense. I think it's materially different to other situations. I understand why Theresa May stayed on. This Prime Minister is desperately clinging on. He should go, and he should go straight away, in my view. Dominic, PA.
Yes, the government, I think, has. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can now, yeah.
The government has signalled that it can continue with controversial policies such as the Rwanda asylum scheme, the Northern Ireland Protocol bill. What would you say to that? Do you think there should just be a freeze on legislation or on policy for the next few months?
I think, well, my preferred option and the right option is the Prime Minister should go straight away. And I think that there's plenty of people in the Conservative Party who agree with me on that. He shouldn't be desperately clinging on when he has had to leave office because of his disgraceful conduct. And that's why I say the Tory party should remove him. And if they don't, we will step up in the national interest and bring a vote of no confidence. That's what I think should happen. I think we've got Mason from the Telegraph.
In terms of no confidence vote next week, how sure are you that any Conservatives will actually support that? Has there been any private conversations between yourself, your team, with Tory MPs who said, actually, if you do bring that no confidence vote, we will support it because we want the Prime Minister gone?
Well, let me be clear. I think the duty is on the Conservative Party to do the right thing. And obviously there are meetings early next week with the 22 committee. So it's for them to do the right thing. If they don't, we'll step up with a vote of no confidence. There are plenty, I mean, you've seen what's happened this week. There are plenty of Conservatives who said they do not have faith in the Prime Minister. Mass resignations, more resignations in one day for a Prime Minister, I think, than ever in the history of our country. The idea that they will then all troop to say now, a few days later, we do have faith in him again, beggars belief. But actually the duty is on the Conservative Party. They know that this Prime Minister is being removed because he's not fit for office, rather than a policy disagreement. So they know that he's got to go and he shouldn't be clinging on. Do we have Harriet from the Mail? No? Do we have anyone else from the Mail? I don't want to... No. Peter from The Guardian.
Hi.
Hi.
Okay, it sounded like from the mini speech you did at the start that you're going to have a kind of policy push coming on in the kind of next few weeks and months. But there's some critics who say you should have set out what you stand for a bit earlier in your kind of time period. And thus far you seem to be, in voters' minds, just contrasting yourself mainly as not being Boris Johnson, as being an honest person who do the right thing. Do you agree that it's perhaps overdue for you to set out exactly what a Labour government would do?
Well, Peter, we've set out on a number of occasions what we see to be the central, most important political argument, which is how do we grow the economy? The root cause of so much of what we're going through at the moment is the fact that we've had a stagnant economy for 12 years with low growth. We've set that out, we've identified it, we've set out the relationship we will have with business to resolve it. We've said how we will invest, how we will have a new skills agenda, and how we will make, buy and sell more in Britain. So we actually have said a lot about the core political arguments. There'll be more coming from me in the coming weeks, of course, and over the summer. But we have set that out. We need to repeat it over and over again. But I think that how we grow the economy is the single most important issue that faces this country. And I want the next election to be about that issue, on which we've already said a lot, and we will say a lot more. Have we got Jack from The Sun? Jack.
Thanks, Keir. You've made clear today that you think that the Tories are not fit to govern. So isn't the truth that in an election you would do a coalition with the Liberal Democrats and the Scottish National Party? And if not, will you rule it out now?
I will absolutely rule it out. Let me take the SNP first. There will be no deal going into a general election and no deal coming out of a general election. And that's not just about a numbers game as far as I'm concerned. I want to be Prime Minister for the whole of the United Kingdom. I want a Labour government for the whole of the United Kingdom. There is no basis for an alliance with a party who wants to break up the United Kingdom. I want to grow the economy. There's no basis for an alliance with a party that thinks the answer to growing the economy is to put a border between England and Scotland. So it's not just a numbers game, it's an in-principle position. There is no basis for an alliance under a Keir Starmer government between Labour and the SNP, full stop. So far as Lib Dems are concerned, we want a Labour majority. We want to deliver on our mission. And that is what we are going to do. We are fighting for a majority Labour government to deliver our mission. Thank you, Jack. I don't have a name for anyone from the Times, so do we have anyone? Or the Mirror? Or the Express? No? In which case, thank you all very much.